My name is Agnes. I am 89 years old. I have lived a long life. I have loved. I have lost. I have kept secrets that would have broken most people in half. And I gave away my baby, not because I wanted to, because my husband told me to. And back then, women like me didn't say no. I was 19 when I married Harold. He was 26, tall, confident, the kind of man who walked into a room and filled it up without trying. My mother said I was lucky. My father shook his hand like he was sealing a business deal. Nobody asked me what I wanted. That's just how it was in 1953. I had dreams back then. I wanted to be a nurse. I had already written to a school in Ohio. Harold said, "You won't need that, you'll have me." And I believed him. I was 19. I didn't know yet what it meant to disappear inside someone else's life. 6 months after the wedding, I found out I was pregnant. I remember standing in the bathroom, heart pounding, not from fear, from joy. I was going to be a mother. Harold was not happy. He looked at me like I had done something wrong, like I had broken a rule he never told me about. He said, "Agnes, we talked about this." We hadn't talked about anything. He said he wasn't ready, that a baby would ruin everything. Every time I tried to speak, he raised his voice. I cried for 3 days straight. He slept in the other room and acted like I was being dramatic. On the 4th day, he came to me with a name, a couple, friends of a friend who couldn't have children. He said they were good people. He said, "This is the right thing to do, Agnes. You'll see." In 1954, a woman didn't have a lawyer. She didn't have a hotline to call. She didn't have anyone to tell her she had rights. She had her husband. And if her husband decided something, that was the decision. I held my son for 11 minutes. I know because I counted every single second. I was afraid that if I stopped counting, the moment would end faster. He was so small, so warm. He smelled like something I had no word for. He had Harold's nose and, God forgive me, he had my eyes. I kept looking at those eyes, trying to memorize them, trying to take them with me somehow. Harold was standing in the corner of the room, not looking at the baby, looking at me. That look said everything. I kissed my son on the forehead. I told him I loved him. I told him, and I know he couldn't understand. He was only days old. I told him, "This is not goodbye. This is just not yet." I didn't know I was lying. They took him from my arms and I felt something leave my body that never came back. I don't know what to call it. My heart, maybe. Or maybe just the person I was before that moment. 3 years ago, my son James found me through an ancestry website. We started talking, slowly, carefully. There was so much to say, and neither of us knew how to begin. One evening, he was telling me about his life, his work, his children, his wife. And then he mentioned, almost in passing, that he had recently connected with a half-brother. I said, "A half-brother?" He said, "Yes, on his father's side, Harold's son, born in 1958. I sat very still. Harold told me he wasn't ready to be a father. Harold forced me to give away my newborn son because he said a baby would ruin everything. And 4 years later, Harold had another son. With another woman. I couldn't speak for a long time. It wasn't grief. It wasn't even anger. It was something colder than both. The man I had trusted with my life, the man I had obeyed at the cost of everything, had lied about all of it. Harold never spoke of the baby again, not once in 41 years of marriage. We had 2 daughters. He was a decent father to them, not warm, not present in the way that counts, but decent, and I loved my daughters. I love them still, but there was always a space at the table, a ghost in every birthday photograph, a name I never said out loud, not even when I was alone. I had named him Thomas, in my heart only. He never knew that name. Nobody did. I thought about him every March 14th. I thought about him when I saw boys learning to ride bicycles, when I saw young men at graduation ceremonies, when I saw fathers lifting their sons onto their shoulders. I thought about him when Harold died, 12 years ago now, and I realized I was finally free to look. But I was 77 years old and terrified. What do you say to a son you gave away? What right did I have? As James and I kept talking, he told me something else. He said he had been searching for me since 1987, 36 years, and then he said that in 1991 he had found our address. He had driven to the house, knocked on the door. Harold answered. Harold told him he had the wrong address, that no Agnes lived there, that he should leave and not come back. James was 37 years old when he stood on my porch, my son, and my husband sent him away like a stranger and came back inside and sat down for dinner and never said a single word to me. 70 years of guilt, and Harold had stolen 36 more from both of us. James and I talked for months, long phone calls, hard silences, harder questions. Why didn't you fight harder? Why didn't you look for me after Harold died? Did you ever think about me? Every single day, James. Every single day of my life. I didn't try to defend myself. I had no good defense. I just told him the truth. All of it, including the parts that made me look weak, including the parts I was ashamed of. He deserved the whole truth, not the comfortable version. It took almost a year, and then one evening, a Tuesday, raining outside, he called and said, "Agnes, I've been thinking a lot. I don't want to spend whatever time we have left being angry. I know you didn't choose to let me go, and I forgive you." 2 words, 70 years in the making. Last spring, James came to visit. He drove 6 hours. He is 70 years old. I am 89. We sat at my kitchen table and I made coffee and we talked for 8 hours straight. He showed me pictures of his children, his wife, his life, a good life, despite everything. Before he left, he held my hand and said, "I'm glad I found you, Agnes." And I said, "I've been here. I never stopped being here." I am 89 years old. I made mistakes I cannot undo. I trusted a man who did not deserve my trust. I lost years, so many years, that I will never get back, but I have my son. I have Thomas, James, whatever name the world gave him. And if you are sitting somewhere right now carrying something heavy, something you've never told anyone, not even yourself, don't wait 70 years. The truth always costs something, but silence costs more. I've told you my story, all of it, the parts I'm proud of and the parts that still keep me up at night. And now I want to ask you something, and I mean this sincerely. What would you have done in my place? If you were 19 years old, alone, with no one on your side, would you have found the strength to say no? Leave me your answer in the comments. I read every single one. And sometimes your words help me more than you know. If my story moved you in any way, if it made you think of someone you love, or something you've been carrying yourself, please subscribe to this channel. Every week, someone sits down and tells their truth. The kind of truth most people take to the grave. You don't want to miss it.